you on behalf of the Chamber. I'm Randy Beach, and I'm standing in for our chairman, Richard Beach. It's the dynasty, they say. He took vacation today. I wondered, I was a little leery of this, but I told him I would take over for him today. And Gary, as usual, has given me my orders and my instructions, and he says you have to have an advertisement, so we'll work into that. And I guess the best way to do it is this is the best day for the Irish ever. Anywhere they be, not only in the United States, but in the world. And we have two concentrations of people here in Clinton County. One is the Irish and one is the French Canadian. And the Irish got here, as Gary reminded me, across that border, okay? And what have we been talking about lately but the border, okay? So the only thing I will say on that, other than that we have a problem, we're going to solve it, and thanks to the help of Mr. Spiegel here and many other people in this room, is we're going to solve this problem to continue the prosperity in Clinton County. And we need everybody who can to write your representatives, whether it be Senator Ortloff here in the front row, whether it be Senator Stafford out there in the middle, Mr. John McHugh, the senators. We need letters from you if we're going to solve this problem. So that's your advertisement, Gary. I just wanted to get that in. Let's see. I think the most important thing, and I have to thank, I want to thank Jody and the Chamber staff for putting this fantastic celebration together today. This is a record turnout. We have at least 500. We're not supposed to have any more than 500 people here, so I'm not going to talk about over 500, but we have at least 500 people here, and that's fantastic. This is a great thank you to all of us, really, and to the Irish, that so many of you will come out on not that nice a morning, but spring's just around the corner. So I'd like to, before I go any further, I'd like to also bring to your attention, if you didn't see it in the paper, or hear it on the news, I happened to hear it on Wiry, I believe, this morning. The latest thing that has happened to Clinton County, which is absolutely great, is there is a certain magazine, Site Selection magazine, that goes out to corporate executives all over the country, and they have ranked site selection for businesses in small communities throughout the U.S. And they did a ranking of 100 communities, and we're very proud to say that Plattsburgh is number 7. And what's even more exciting is, I always like to look at these lists just to curiosity, because someone made the comment, well, I think Gary made the comment that Plattsburgh was number 7. It was the only Northeast community in the top 10. What I found very interesting is there were only 2 Northeast communities in the top 10, or in the whole 100. One was Plattsburgh at number 7, and the other one was Watertown, what I believe was number 47. The next closest community to us was either in Virginia or Ohio, and that has to say an awful lot to this area, to the efforts of Park, the Chamber, and to the IDA, because they're what's making this happen. And they deserve, and their staffs deserve, a round of applause. Now I should change my hat. I get to welcome you as Adirondack Bank. However, I happen to like this hat, and I'm not going to change to a banker's hat, and I don't know what that is really. Welcome again on behalf of Adirondack Bank to the St. Patrick's Day celebration. And I'm not going to go on to give you an advertisement or anything, because we have this wonderful Irishman here that's going to probably leave you in stitches, and I hope not in the hospital from falling on the floor in laughter, but I know that Kevin's going to do a fantastic job. But on behalf of the bank, all I can say is, as you proceed through this day and through your life, and you follow that rainbow looking for your dream, just follow it to Adirondack Bank and your popcorn. Thank you. Kevin, please.
I was starting to miss Dr. Beach there for a minute. Mike, you can put your stuff away, there'll be no time. Top of the morning to you. Top of the morning to you. Is that in French? Actually, this is a full house in many respects, but it's also an empty house in some respects. There's a couple of Joes missing today. It's the first time I've been here, but neither of them have been here, so I'm going to do a little role reversal. Wary's always been kind enough to play this on the radio for people that couldn't be here. And Joe Bornstein is not here for the first time in 40 years. Joe McGrath is not here because he's not well enough to be here. So this morning I thought what we would do is I'm going to let you say the top of the morning. And we'll say top of the morning Joe, and we'll get a 2-for-1 special. 2 Joes for the price of 1. And we'll say top of the morning to them on the air. Ready? Top of the morning, Joe. Did you hear that, Joe? Way better than the best for the rest of the day. Next year you do that and I'll do the other part. Well, when I was getting ready this morning, Penny said to me, she said, try and have a little class up there today, would you? That was a little classy, wasn't it? Thank God we got that over with. Actually, Joe Bornstein is not here, but he wrote us a little bit of a note. It says, Dear Kevin, it is with deep sense of regret that I find myself unable to attend the Chamber of Commerce Irishman of the Year breakfast, as I am in Meadowbrook Rehab recovering from recent surgery. Being named the first Irishman of the Year in 1959 was one of the greatest honors ever bestowed upon me. God willing, I will be able to join you for next year's festivities. Please extend my greetings and best wishes to all assembled, and may one and all have a grand day. Very truly yours, Joe Bornstein. Well, we have a new teller of tales, and that's going to be Mike Mannix. And in Joe's honor, he told me he's going to tell a story about a Jewish parrot from Ruby Foods. Joe McGrath's wife called. They're celebrating in a traditional fashion. She got up this morning and made Joe the nice breakfast like you all had here this morning. And to make him feel right at home, she charged him 15 bucks. I see Senator Stafford is here. It's the first time he's been here for my malarkey. And the reason is the last 4 years he's been lobbying for what has been one of the greatest travesties in our nation, that St. Patrick's Day is not a national holiday. He's here today, and I gave him a new request. Now, I don't want an answer to this question, Senator, because we don't have time for the answer. But I was wondering, if we can't have it be a national holiday, can we have March 17th be on Friday every year? Work on it like he does everything else for us. I asked my mom doesn't like crowds, so she never wants to come to this, thank God. But I played one of the tapes where she still lives in Port Henry, as you people all think is Mineville. John Latman's from Mineville, I'm from Mariah. But you've got to realize that there are more people in this room than live in Grover Hills in Mineville. This is a big crowd. I have a little story I wanted to tell you about the ice storm. Everybody remember the ice storm? Well, it's funny, not everybody does, because just this morning, Mike Legree asked me, he says, Kevin, can you tell me, what year was the ice storm of 1998? I told him I thought it was a couple of years ago. But at any rate, there's a nice story. You know, bad things happen in the world and good stories come from it. As I told you, for me that was the 9 years I spent at the Catholic school. But there's a nice story about the ice storm of 1998, a couple years ago, Mike. Searsman Senior Dwyer was over at the Rectorium, where he lives. And the heat was on. The heat was off in the city. There was no power. So a lady, we'll call her Mary Kate because she might even be in the room, who knows, comes to the door. She says, Monsignor, I have no heat. She says, could you please see if you could put me up for the night? He said, well, we have no heat either, but we have the visiting priest room and we'd be glad to have you share it. So he takes her up to the visiting priest's room, you know, with a Bible on the table and a crucifix on every wall and a holy water as you go out the door. Sets the lady all up, gives her some blankets, and he goes back downstairs. Gets under his own blankets and he hears, Monsignor! Gets out of his bed, up the stairs he goes. The lady says, I'm still cold, Monsignor. Could you fix me a cup of tea? He said, I'd be glad to fix you a cup of tea. Goes down the stairs, fixes her a cup of tea, brings it up, gives her the tea, goes back downstairs, gets under the covers. Father! Up the stairs he goes, says, I'm still cold. Could you put a little water bottle under the blanket for me to warm me feet? Yes, I will. Goes down, gets the water bottle, comes back up, goes back to bed. Monsignor! Goes back up the stairs, on his way up the stairs. He's in 60 years in the priesthood and I'm still having to deal with this. Gets up there and she says, I need another blanket. Monsignor goes, I got a better idea. He says, why don't we just pretend we're married? She goes, oh, Monsignor, I'd like that. He goes, oh, very well. And now that we're married, you can get your own damn blanket. Thank you for your community spirit. Will you please give us the invocation?
Well, it's special pleasure after all the introduction. And every year we gather on this St. Patrick's Day, and the North Country Chamber of Commerce at the same time. So we have great background. Both St. Patrick and the Chamber of Commerce members are promoters and salespeople. St. Patrick did a great job in selling to a relatively unreceptive crowd, selling his religion. And each one of the Chamber of Commerce members have the zeal and determination of St. Patrick as they proceeded their endeavors, winning new people to buy and winning new people to come into our community. Enjoy St. Patrick's and his Chamber of Commerce prayers.
Amen. forgot that part, Monsignor. It's really okay, though, because it's not actually as funny as it sounds, because Monsignor is suffering from ESM, Etch-a-Sketch Memory. It's right there, but he shakes his head and it's gone. I hate to see a good deed of kindness go unnoticed, but I did notice over here that when they stood up for the invocation, that Mike Whalen was nice enough to help John Zerlo up off his wallet. Well, I did take a little jab at marriage. I was talking about Senior Dwyer in his 1998 Ice Storm adventures. But as you know, marriage is a fine institution. Just think of what comes to mind when you think about being institutionalized. You know I like to do a little audience participation. So, if you're a woman and you're married, will you please stand? And remain standing. Bob Perkins, was that enough time for you to identify who's not married? Well, it isn't always easy being married, is it? Raise your hand if you've been married for more than 40 years. Take a look around. I can see being married for 40 years, but not to the same woman. It's not always easy, is it, fellas? Like the guy that was in the car with his wife, the leader of the opposition. She called her. And they get stopped by the coppers. Copper pulls him over, sticks his head in the window, says, "You're speeding." The guy says, "I was not." His wife said, "You were too, you're always speeding." He says, "No, no, dear, let me handle this." He goes, "And by the way, you got a tail light out." "I do," he says. Of course, the leader of the opposition says, "You've known it's been out for weeks. You said you were going to fix it and you didn't." He says, "Shush, that's enough." He said, I just now noticed that your inspection sticker is overdue." "Ah, I had no idea." His wife said, "You've been trying to get another month out of that every year. What are you talking about?" He goes, "Would you shut up?" to his wife. So the copper's a little disturbed and he goes over to the other side of the table or around the car and he says, she rolls down the window. He says, "Ma'am, does he always talk to you like this?" He said, "Oh no, he's very good except when he has 8 or 9 drinks in him." On to more serious business. We'd now like to introduce the past Irish men and women who are with us today, and we'll ask that they just stand where they are. It'll save on time and make me less nervous. In 1965, we gave the award to the one and only Angelo Lamarion. If you get tired, you can sit. You never get tired, you can sit anyway. In 1970, Marie Beamer. lovely chapeau you have on. 1976, Bill McBride. Bill was one of those guys who raised his hand and said he's been married more than 40 years, I think. Well, they're just coming into the technology age in his house. He finally bought his wife a cellular phone. So off she goes, over to Punky Sheer Perfection to get her hair done. And so Bill says, well, I better try and see if she knows how to use it. So he rings her up and she picks it up. He says, is it working fine? He said, yes, but how did you know I was at the hairdresser's? Technology. In 1977, Jan Shambo. Happy St. Patrick's Day, Jan. 1982, Queen of the YMCA, Rita Banks. 1985, our community servant, Monsignor Morris Dwyer. 1994, my hero, the big shillelagh, Michael Mannix. 1995, the glue that holds the entire Chamber of Commerce together, Claire Guineau. Now the last four are a little more prestigious because I'm the one that gave them the award. And they're here, 100%. In 1996, we should thank him probably for getting Hometown Radio to do this on the air, because they were nice enough to do it when we surprised him with this, and they've been great enough to do it ever since. Gordy Little. 1997, he's in the back of the room here somewhere, Wayne Byrne. 1998, the Connecticut peddler, Stan Ransom. And back to defend his championship from last year, Bill Morgan. One quick more blip and then we'll get on with some singing, some real entertainment. Bill Bingle's here, I think. You know, Mike may or may not know about Bill Bingle. He's an avid camper. And that doesn't count the time he spends at pine camp, hunting camp. Loves to camp. I saw him up in Chateauguay one day. We happened to see each other, you're out of town. He pulls over, I pull over behind him. I get out, go up to his car. I said, what are you doing up here? Going camping. So we talked a little bit longer, and I said, well, Bill, I noticed actually that you have a tail light out in the back of your truck. He jumps out of the truck, goes around to the back, he goes, oh my God, my life, my wife, my kids, what am I gonna do? I said, relax, Bill, it's only a tail light. He said, to hell with the tail light, where's my trailer? Cortland Wood, are you ready? For some real entertainment. Cortland Wood, Angela Mariana, James Conley.
Well, your program has got a couple songs on there, so let's start with My Wild Irish Rose. Usually every year I sing Danny Boy, but I got another request for Galway Bay, and I'd like just a show of hands. Which one do you want me to sing? Give me both of them. All right, Galway Bay, I'll give you the music over there.
If you'll ever go across the sea to Ireland, and maybe at the closing of your day, you will sit and watch the moon rise over Glenmore, and see the sun go down on Galway Bay, just to hear again the ripple of the trout stream, the women in the meadows making hay, and to sit beside a turf fire in the cabin, and watch the barefoot gossams at their play. For the breezes blowing o'er the seas from Ireland are perfumed by the heather as they blow, and the women in the uplands digging praties speak a language that the strangers do not know. For the strangers came to try to teach us their way. They scorned us just for being what we are, but they might as well go chasing after moonbeams, or light a penny candle from a star. And if there is going to be a life hereafter, and somehow I am sure there's gonna be, I will ask my God to let me make my heaven in that dear land across the Irish Sea.
I was the one that made the request, and now you can see why. That was terrific. Angie, could you join me up here for just a moment, please? While he's doing that, do we have one more round of applause for the music? Aren't they great? Could you pick up your son on the way by? Dr. Amador, can you come up here a minute, please? Stand right over here. Oh, you're fine, Angie. I always wanted to feel like a big man.
It's just the long and short of it.
Actually, oh no, we're not finished yet. Actually, you can tell what they both have in common. They both have more hair than I do. And Dr. Amador was nice enough give me a compliment this morning. He said my head looked really good this morning. So I'm going to return you the favor. Actually, there's an announcement geared towards each, that's why I asked him to come up here. This is Angela Mariana's 35th year of doing this, and he is also 85 years of age. There's an old Irish saying that says, the older the fiddle, the sweeter the music. In our case, the older the fiddler, the sweeter the music. Now it's for you, Dr. Amador. Did you see the paper this morning? Dennis Curtin told me there was an announcement in the paper today that you have been named the highest paid executive superintendent in the state per inch. Congratulations. Well, Mike Mannix is going to come up here. He's going to be the teller of tales. And did you know that he and his brother Marty were related? They're actually twins. And if you didn't know that, they don't look a bit alike, but that's the family line and we're sticking with it. Now you can imagine the two of them growing up. The way I hear it from the nuns was that Marty might have been just a wee bit better student than Mike was. But they were competitive all the way through school. And they both tried to get the same job one summer. And the man couldn't decide, so he said, I'm going to give you a test, a written test. And Mike said, my God, a written test. So they both take the test. There's 10 questions on the test. The results come back. They both got 9 right and 1 wrong. And they immediately gave the job to Marty. Mike said, how could that be? He got 9 correct, I got 9 correct. He said, well, we based it on the incorrect answer. He says, Marty's answer to the incorrect answer was, I do not know the answer to this question. And Mike's was, I don't either. Could you come and regale us a bit?
Thank you, Kevin. You know the old saying, when you have the mic, you have the last word. Fear not, Kevin, I'll try and take it easy on you. I was asked to take this job over from Joe Bornstein, and you just don't fill Joe's shoes. But I'm not going to do that Jewish joke from Montreal. I'm reminded of my Uncle Patrick, though. He got in a terrible accident, and he decided to sue the city. But he's laying in the court on a gurney, and he tells his story on how he came out of a bar one night. He was a bass, and he fell in this hole, and that's how he hurt himself. So the jury, which was an Irish judge in Boston, and 12 good Irish jurors, awarded him $20 million. So while he's laying on the gurney with a smile on his face and they're wheeling him out, the lawyer from the insurance company walks up to him and he says, we know down deep there ain't nothing wrong with you, but the court says we owe you $20 million, we'll pay it. But I'm telling you right now, we're going to follow you every minute of the day for the rest of your life. And if you move one finger, we're going to have that $20 million brought back to us. And Uncle Patrick looked at me and said, let me tell you this, young man, here's what's going to happen. He says, my friends are going to take me out of this courtroom and put me in an ambulance. We're going over to Logan Airport. Then they're going to fly me to Shannon. From there, there's a taxi going to meet me. And they're going to take me to Paris, France. Then they're going to take me to Lourdes. And you're going to see the best miracle you've ever seen. Kevin Killeen. He has been known to have a drink or two, or three, or four. Well, one night, and he says to him, Kevin, I'm sick and tired of you coming home all sloshed up and getting so drunk. The next time, you're out of the house. But Kevin's pretty good for a couple of weeks, and all of a sudden one night about 2 in the morning, you hear this melody of Irish songs is banging against the walls and making just a hell of a racket, waking everybody up. This one gets up and she grabs him by the ear, marches him downstairs, down the street, to the end of the road that overlooks the brewery. Says to Kevin, you know what that is right there? No, I don't, he says. She says, that's a brewery. And you can't drink that place dry. Kevin says, I know, but I gotta work at nights. I felt sorry for Dr. Amador. You know, this is a true story. He went to Ireland once, because the Irish always try and save everybody, especially the Italians. In his case, the Italian. But he was going on a little camping trip, and he got lost. And some Irish monks found him in the woods. They brought him back to their monastery. Or was it the rectorium that you talked about? So while they're there, they noticed that the only thing they ever ate were fish and chips. But after a couple of weeks, he was starting to feel a whole lot better. And he decided he'd go into the kitchen and thank the chef for all the good food. So he walks in and he sees the chef and he says, are you the French fryer? The chef says, no, I'm the chipmunk. Well, I know we're here to get the Irishman of the Year, but I'd like to leave you with an Irish blessing. Take time to work. It is the price of success. Take time to drink. It is the source of power. Take time to play. It is the secret of perpetual youth. Take time to read. It is the foundation of wisdom. Take time to be friendly. It's the road to happiness. Take time to love and be loved. It's the privilege of the gods. Take time to share. Life is too short to be selfish. And take time to laugh, because laughter is the music of the soul. Thank you.
Something tells me that Joe Bornstein wouldn't have told the story about Lourdes. Sure. One more quick story and then we'll get on with the business. Rick Martindale is here. He told me this story. He was younger. He had a date on Saturday night. He was very excited about this particular date. I mean, he was very excited about this particular date. So excited that he went down to the pharmacy to purchase a little protection. A condominium. A raincoat. You know what I'm talking about. Dear God, don't let me go on if you're not with me. he shows up for the date. They're having dinner at her house, then they're going out. He gets there just in time for dinner. They all sit down. The father comes out with a big roast, and they sit down and they bow their heads for the blessing. The father gives the blessing, and Rick's still sitting there with his head down like this. It's still down. His dad goes, "Rick, I didn't know you were so religious." He goes, "I didn't know your father was a pharmacist." Good luck with your new business, just the same, Rick. It is now time to get on with the business we came for, and I will be reading to you from the Royal Order of the Blarney Stone. Whereas on March 17th, 1959, there did band together on the banks of the Saranac River in Plattsburgh, New York, in the North Country, a great group of intrepid Irishmen who established the great and honorable Royal Order of the Blarney Stone. And whereas it was deemed most important that there be fostered and perpetrated there by the gentle, pleasant, effective, and provocative art of Irish Blarney. And whereas this art has played a significant part in promoting and advancing the welfare, prosperity, happiness, and credibility of many of the area's most prominent citizens, and has served as a cornerstone of some of its most successful and memorable enterprises and institutions. And whereas it has been decreed that there should be annually admitted to membership in the Royal Order those kindly souls imbued with the spirit of St. Patrick, blessed with the art of Blarney, not necessarily blessed with Irish name, who by use of quick and facile tongue have nevertheless endeared themselves to the Irish race. And whereas such a person lives among us large as life, burdened by the label of his trade, this person carries the yoke of the North Country atop his shoulders. Born of meager beginnings and known for spontaneous pontification, this person now holds the shillings of the empire. Now therefore be it resolved that having full confidence in his malarkey, wishing to secure for him a place in Irish posterity, and seeking to bestow upon him his evidence of our esteem and affection, we do hereby confer upon Senator Ronald Stafford the Royal Order of the Blarney Stone. Ronald, Patrick, Liam, Michael, Casey, Fergus, McStafford, and do confer upon you all the rights and privileges of the outrageous prerogatives of the order.
Thank you, Kevin. You know, the names that I was so fortunate to just receive, they could have been my names. And for some of you who don't know this, but you all do because I talk about it all the time, but I could be Irish. Very, very strong possibility. With the spirit that this has given those who have come before me, I can only say to you, I will do my best to live up to the honor that you bestowed upon me. And I can only say, when you have the spirit that's here today, fellowship. You can see why this community is ranked seventh in the nation. Again, thank you so much. I could go on, and thank you, so I will. I can only say, when any of us get called up here, you can make about 3 mistakes. 1, you think that you deserve it. That's 1. And there's so many more that are more deserving. 2, if you have tried to do a little something, you think you've done it yourself. And finally, you think you can live up to what people really think you should do when you're given this honor. But again, I will do my best. Thank you so much. Such a wonderful morning. Again, my heartfelt appreciation. Well, hope you're feeling well.
As always, it's a terrific honor for me to be able to pass that along. We have a new blessing giver today. It's the Reverend John Masella. And John, can you come up for a moment? Well, you're going to come up anyway, I hope. I've only been to John's church once. I've been to every church in Plattsburgh once. You don't get envelopes that way. But I'm deeply committed to each and every one of them. But I was there, and John's standing next to Reverend Parker, and I don't know if it was because I was there or not, but he begins to go on about the evils of the drink. He might have changed it just for me, I'm not sure. He starts to rattle on, he says, if I had all the whiskey in the world, I'd take it out back and dump it in the river. Goes on for a little while longer. Says, this is John standing next to him, of course, you know, and says, if I had all the beer in the world, I'd take it out back and dump it in the river. John's like, finishes up, he says, if I had all the wine, now you can imagine how personal this is for John. I take it out back and I'll dump it in the river, and he gets done, and John's on next. He says, would you please join me in hymn number 115, Shall We Gather by the River? Benediction, Reverend John Masella.
Blessing. Please stand. May God bless you now, and always, with the gift of Irish cheer, so you will have a happy hop every day and every year. Amen.
We have a drawing, still have a bit of business left here. For a bucket of booze, right after the invocation. But Jack D told me, he says, it's faulted, it's not right. He said there's doesn't ever seem to be any Irish whiskey in there. And he says, by the way, that reminds me of a story. said, well, he says, I'll tell you this, but you can't tell anybody else. So I thought I'd share it with you. He has a client who comes in, and he's getting on in years, and he has one last wish. The guy wasn't very well liked. Well, you can imagine, if he went to his attorney for his last wish, he didn't have many friends. And he says that that's my home. There's a bottle of Irish whiskey on the mantle. And my dying wish is that after they bury me, it gets spread around my grave. Jack said, I'd be glad to help you with that. He said, but do you mind if I pass it through me kidneys first? Time flies when you're having fun. This is the most nervous part for me. Here it is. If you weren't here the year that I read it and it was all upside down, it really happened. If you have a ticket, here we go. 265-2450. Mrs. Papke. What time should we be over? Didn't seem to go by rather quickly. Just a final word for you. I don't know how many of you read Angela's Ashes. I haven't seen the movie, but I read the book. Not only is it a bit humorous, but it's much sad. And the reason it's much sad is because I get the impression that there was more food in this room this morning than there was in all of Ireland during those times. And I would ask that when you go home and carry about your business that we all appreciate how lucky we are every day. And I want to wish you the best for the rest of the day. Thank you for coming.
Excuse me.
Hello there, how are you?
So, have you been to Montreal lately? Yeah.
I guess I'll get things started. Welcome back to the North Country. You said to be back here frequently, and true to your word, you've been back here frequently. And you'll recall last year when we first met, you heard from me, border. Right. And
Promised that visit.
It's only gotten worse since then. In fact, it's gotten really tragically worse in terms of its impact on our economy. We're noticing this number. That's the annual impact of Canada and the trade on this trade border just on Clinton County each year. Those are the stakes. That's what's at stake. And that's rippling up and down this corridor from Montreal to New York City. We've got to keep this gateway open. This gateway is shutting down from just we're trying to put 20 pounds through a 5-pound hole. That's what we're trying to do up here right now. Without taking away from the guys I'm going to turn to in a minute, but let me kind of set things up just a bit. There are a number of folks here who you've met in the past and who are here today, and several hundred others out there that are part of the coalition working on this issue. We appreciate your attention and support, Pedro's and Steve's and the other members of your staff. We have representation here from Senator Moynihan's office, and we thank them. They've been very helpful as well. I know you're working together down there. John McHugh's office, Congressman Sweeney's office has been helpful. Senator Stafford's office, I know, is here as well. And at the state level, they've been very helpful in working with the State Department of Transportation. It's a federal project, but there's state cooperation needed too, so I cite all of them. Art Spiegel is chairing our committee of 100. Which is which you're part of. It includes, well, at least 99 other top leaders in this corridor behind this project. And of course, you met Claude Bachand, a member of Parliament from just the other side of the border, and the riding on the other side. Celine Paquette, chair of the county legislature. And forgive me if I'm missing some other folks here. Mary, you met, of course, down from Montreal, and a great partner too. Senator, there's no more, you've heard me say this before, but there truly is no more important, critical, timely issue on the North Country agenda in fixing this facility. It's an embarrassment, it's a disgrace, anybody associated with the federal government, anybody associated with the Chamber of Commerce. I'm embarrassed. I feel disgraced that my chamber didn't start talking about this several years ago. We all have blame for this happening. But now we've got to get our act together and get it fixed because the stakes are enormous. We are experiencing truck lines here at peak times 5, 6, 7 miles. It looks like a truck parking lot on the highway on the other side. It's unacceptable. We're in a just-in-time economy today. And this port is just too little. It's making things just too late.
There's no problem going more?
Not anywhere near to the Canada-built kind of facility we need. They've done it. They've challenged us to do the same thing.
I thought that was the answer.
That's the answer.
It's 1-0 for us. Kind of rare.
What I'm going to do is call on our federal agency partners here to give you a little bit of a background on the trends and what's happening here. And it's going to kind of flip back to me to talk about some of the strategy and steps, the action steps that we need your help with. And then we'll go out and take a look around. Am I turning this over to Tim Manginelli? Tim.
What we'll start out with here is just an idea of the statistics part of this problem. This facility was built and occupied first in 1973, and this chart graphs the number of trucks arriving at this facility since 1982. Before 82, it was much less than 200,000 trucks. We have 3 spikes here that I'd like to talk about, and these have been the problems that we've dealt with throughout the years.
When it was 200,000, were there problems, or the facility?
No, the facility was built with 1 truck booth, and it worked fine. Back then, we dealt with 30% of the traffic was empty trucks to begin with, because the trucking industry had not been deregulated at that time. So we really only had 70% of that 200,000 we really had to work with. So what happened here? This first spike depicts probably the just-in-time inventory, the swing to businesses going just-in-time inventory and the deregulation of the trucking industry. It was this point in time that we realized we had a problem and started backing up trucks. So what we did to address that was we tore out 2 POB lanes and put in a second truck lane. And that got us over that hurdle. Come along here, and the ratification of the Canadian Free Trade Act created another spike. And our reaction again was similar. We petitioned for money for a 3rd truck lane. We got the money approved from our agency, but not doing our homework real well, when we brought the 3rd truck booth in, we had no room to put it. Where we thought we could put it, the trucks, it was determined, couldn't maneuver. It was too close to the building, and we couldn't go further west because we didn't own the property, and there's a state highway there. So we kind of tweaked our process. We tried to live with this until NAFTA ratification has now put us right on the chart. And we're confined by the constraints of the facility, and as you can see, the trucks just keep coming at us, and rarely do you see an empty truck today, because if you see them once, you don't see them again. Some of the things that we've done some short-term improvements to accommodate this influx, and we've got some long-range plans, and I have some folks here that would like to talk about those. Mark? Tom?
Good afternoon, Senator. Thank you for coming and expressing an interest. Everybody, all the dignitaries, thank you for being here. My name is Thomas Keefe. I represent the 180 or so customs employees that work in this facility. And what I'm going to talk about is some short